It's embargo day. It's like Christmas for content creators right now. Beacn dropping all three of their products on the same day has me so excited to finally talk about them. In this video, we're going to be talking about the most polarizing part of their initial lineup, which is the Mix and Mix Create. Hey, it's me, the Tea Queen Lilith Lorraine, and welcome back to another episode of Future or Flop, where the show where I go over the innovative products and tech content in VR spaces and decide whether or not they're the future of the industry or an absolute flop. This time we're checking out the Mix and Mix Create by Beacn. If you don't know who Beacn are, they're a collection of audio engineers and developers who worked on the original Go XLR. And after some shenanigans with Music Tribe with TC Helicon's parent company, who also owns Behringer, they decided to go off and make their own products. Quick disclosure, Beacn sent me these products for testing. I've had them for about 6 months and run them through their paces during the beta testing phase, while the software was still in development. No money has changed hands, and they're seeing this review at the same time you are, so they don't have any influence on the review. That said, these videos do take time and money to produce. Instead of throwing you to a sponsor, please consider becoming a member of the channel, joining the community Discord, or follow me on Twitter. While they are using similar naming conventions, the Mix and Mix Creator aimed entirely different audiences. I have to state that these are not audio interfaces. You will not be plugging your headphones or your microphone into these. These are audio controllers. The initial marketing around these products was abysmal, and I still see a lot of people not really understanding what they're meant to do. There are no inputs. At a glance, they look very similar. Both feature 5-inch LCD screens, 4 endless knobs with click button functionality, and a single USB-C port on the back. This only has USB 2 capabilities, by the way. That's where the similarities end, though. While the Mix is simpler in design, it still has the basic features you expect from an audio controller of this price range. It gives you nice visual feedback of the levels of all 4 channels. You can control them at any given time, and clicking the knobs of each respective channel will mute it. The Mix Create, however, features 4 dedicated mute buttons beneath each knob for some reason, even though you have visual feedback on the UI, and pushing the knobs doesn't do anything on the Create for some reason. You also have a dedicated button to switch to your audience mix and 2 dedicated buttons to page through your virtual audio device. That's right, if you didn't catch on, the Mix Create allows for more than 4 channels with a maximum of 8, whereas the Mix is limited to 4. The Mix Create also allows you to create sub-mixes, but a little bit more on that later. Fundamentally, the way the two products function is also very different, so let me start with the cheaper Mix. Coming in at $149, the Mix is for the kind of people that want a simpler setup. Maybe you just want to control some of the volume of your meetings or your music, or you're not really fond into complicated audio setups, or you already have an existing audio setup that you're happy with and just want a better way to control it. Once you get this thing plugged in and download the Beacn software, you can get right into mixing. With the standard Mix, you get 4 channels that you can assign any program on your PC to or any device. Simply set your headphones to the monitoring portion right here and you're good to go. If you're often switching between headphones or a set of speakers and your headphones on your desk, that's okay. Set both of these devices in the monitoring section and either click the button in the software or press and hold the knob on the device to switch between listening devices. You can customize the labels on the knobs in the UI here. Just click the color bar and assign it to an RGB value. And if you double click the name, you can rename the knob on the UI, which is also very nice. Instead of installing a bunch of virtual audio devices that clutter up your audio list and can be overwhelming, the Beacn Mix just hooks right into Windows. It controls everything from the software faders provided in Windows. If you've heard of the PC panel audio mixer, the Mix is basically that with a better polished software and a nicer display. The simplicity of the Mix is its biggest caveat. You don't get the fancy features like with the Create or on the mic, and the fact that it's only controlling Windows control panel levels for applications and devices at the end of the day means you're at the mercy for Windows for functionality. The level curve on the Mix is probably the most annoying thing about it, honestly. Let's say I have my music at 1%, it still might be too loud if I'm trying to sit here and vibe and type. But there's no audible difference between 20 and 80%, and this is entirely on Windows. There's nothing they can do about it on the Mix to improve it, which makes me very sad. That takes us right up to the Mix Create. Coming in at $200, this is a lot harder of a sell for a lot of people, including myself. It doesn't feature an input or output for audio gear and doesn't bring any of the amazing processing that comes with the mic. What it does bring to the table is 4 more sources than the Mix. The way the Mix Create functions on a software level is a lot closer to a Go XLR or the Elgato Wave products. Once you get the software installed and device plugged in, you will have 8 more dedicated audio devices in your system. Though the neat part about the Create is you can add your own inputs as well. Say you have a Focusrite for your second mic plugged in. Just add a hardware source and you're ready to go. You can have two of these, but it makes you pick and choose between your sources because for some reason you are arbitrarily locked to 8 even with paging, and I find that a bit weird. Just like you would the Wave, you have to go into your Windows control panel and assign programs to different audio devices, and you're good to go on that front. To add faders to the Create is as simple as clicking the plus button on the UI and clicking which source to add, easily tabbing through them with the buttons on the hardware or the scroll bar on the software. Just like the mix, you can change the UI color of each fader that will be reflected below on the button when not muted. You cannot change the names inside of the Mix Create right now, as those are tied to the virtual audio cables. Under the mute button in the UI, you even have the option of breaking down what the mute button does. So if you only want to mute your mic to stream, you could set it to do that. I would really like this eventually to allow us to mute all but one source, but it's not quite there on launch. The shiny feature of the Create, though, is its submixes. This allows you to have different volume levels for your ears and for your stream, and even an output for your chat programs. This is great for if something's too loud on stream, but perfect in your headphones, and allowing you to tab over and just adjust the volume independently in your personal mix. You can even mute sources from your personal mix and or your audience mix. Just like the mix, you get two sources for your personal mix that can be switched through by long holding the knob, and a dedicated hardware button underneath the paging buttons for changing to your audience mix. This will allow you to hear exactly what your stream is hearing, though there is a little bit of leeway in there given whatever audio interface you're using for your headphones. Ever want the chance to accidentally send something from one source to the wrong destination? That's where the routing table comes in handy. Say I don't want my second mic to ever go to my ears no matter what. I just uncheck that here from the routing table and that problem is solved. You can do this for any device in Mix Create for any of the three available mixes on the Create. Which is why I always have my personal mix unrouted from my headphones, because when I say there is a huge delay between monitoring and actual voice speaking, I freaking mean it. It's like half a second bad. I know this is usually common with USB devices, and it's just kind of window things, but it's worth pointing out. I do think if you have any other streamer audio hardware like an Elgato Wave or a Go XLR, this is a really hard sell at $200. But if you're just building your setup and just want more functionality on the digital side, this may be it for you. There are tons of options for mixing, and the independent audio devices would be a dream if you're mixing in post for video recordings. If you're looking for additional knobs without having to page on the Mix Create, you'll be happy to know that you can, in fact, use them in tandem as of recording this video. If you're a perfectionist like me, they don't line up perfectly, and it drives me insane. Why would they do this to me? That said, out of the two, I will be personally sticking to the Mix full time now that I'm done testing these products. Despite the weird audio curve, it's simple to use. It literally just works, and all that's really missing for me is a catch-all device to drag into a fader for whenever a new program pops up that isn't assigned to a fader. That's like needed for me, but after that, this thing's perfect. It's the perfect companion to go along with the Beacn mic, my review of which you can find here. And for a combined price of a less than a Go XLR, you get what I think is the best USB mic on the market and an excellent and intuitive control surface. What do you think of Beacn's Mix and Mix Create? Are they the future of the industry or simply a flop? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, give a like and subscribe. Consider checking me out on Twitter or go watch the first episode of Future or Flop with the Deca Move. So,